out later in the week. We've got a special surprise. We've got a live session with Alex Bell, and you know Alex from the channel. And we're at American Golf in Trafford in Manchester. So we'll have a little pan around and have a look at this new flagship store. There's Craig. Come on. Flagship store, there's Craig. So if you're looking, if you're in this area, if you're in the north, in England, but to be honest, if you're in England and you need some equipment or you want a good time playing golf on a top driving range, it's got a top tracer driving range. So it's worth the journey, guys, to come for the day. The Trafford Centre's nearby, so you can drop the wife off, she can do a bit of shopping, you can pop over here, tell her you're just popping up for a walk, and get yourself over here and hit a few balls, get on the top tracer games, and buy yourself a new putter, because she'll be buying herself a new pair of shoes, so you might as well treat yourself to some equipment. And you'll get a good fit in. We've got a top custom fitter here now, top very well trained staff, so they'll be able to cater for all your needs. And what they've got, which is really exclusive, is they've got the Zen Green Stage. So as seen on Sky TV, as you know guys, there we go, a bit of, we're not ashamed to do some product placement. Zen Green Stage is a big part of what we do, as is Zen Oracle putter that Alex has got there. So that is an exclusive one, but a lot of people ask about Zen Green Stage and about Zen putters, and we are all the same thing. It is one big family, and it's all born out of Zen Golf. So it's actually all born out of Zen putting mechanics. And the Zen Oracle was it was the first piece of hardware that was born out of the coaching. Then the Zen Green Stage, and then we developed the full swing, the short game, and it was all born out of putting philosophy. So we're very lucky, and this is an exclusive venue to have a Zen Green Stage, but it's open to the public. The store's not open yet, but we've got access to it, so we're very privileged. And what I'd like to do tonight, and it's a rare opportunity as well to have Alex with us, to get a tour player's insight into how he thinks and his processes. And it's an opportunity for you tonight as we're live to ask questions. So if there's any questions, Craig, our trusty assistant here, is on the phone, the hostess with the mostest, is on the long drive champion, should I say, who can hit 7 iron over 200 yards. You might see some of that later actually, because we might go out into the top tracer bay and just Craig can show off his skills. So I'm going to put him on under pressure tonight. And if there's any questions, fire away. At the moment it's about putting. Later we might do some full swing stuff. Depends how long we can keep Alex for. I know he's got to get away later. But we'll be here, guys, and answer as many questions as we can. The first thing we want to talk about is, what do you do when you go to the putting green before a tournament or before you play? So you get there, you might have warmed up already, and then you go to the putting green. And so Alex, what's one of the first things you do when you get to the putting green for that day? Is on a course, so it's maybe the first round of the tournament, what would your normal kind of process be?
Well actually, first of all...
Quick one, Alex. Raise the voice a little bit. Didn't really struggle to hear.
I would actually go for a pro shot, and I would ask a member of staff or the assistant pro if the putting green is similar to the actual course. Because sometimes, let's face it, they don't get as much TLC as the actual course. So I want to know if there is a big difference. I know that for a fact that the club that I play at, the putting green has no reflection on the actual course. So from a field point of view, that can easily answer my question, as opposed to getting the first couple of balls in and thinking, well, it's nothing like the putting green. Secondly, I probably want to look at the stroke side of things, just to get a good feel for how I'm feeling that day. Go through a few exercises, a few drills. Sometimes I might not go through any of that, depending on how I feel. So I totally adapt to what I want to do actually, as opposed to being very, very regimented and feel like I have to tick every box in order to make me feel good to go on the course. Because as we know, we've all done that. We've all gone the putting green and held 5, 10 pucks and thought, oh no, I don't want to do that because I want to save them. So that's something that I definitely don't want to do. And actually, if you are that way inclined, or you hear that from your peers, take it as good advice that if they're thinking like that, then they're maybe not as mentally strong enough as they're making out. Because ultimately, you want to hold every single putt. And if you do all the first 10 putts, and don't panic because you've wasted them all for that day, just go out the course and just try and do it again, but better. So it's a good philosophy to have.
So, collate as much information as possible, that's important, and attuning yourself to the green speed for that day. Now, you've not got access to the greens on the course, on a tournament day, you've got the putting green. And it is variable, but it's the one thing we've got to attune our stroke. And what I'd suggest you do is buy yourself a digital spirit level, okay? And we're going to take that to the green, and we're going to practice some putts. Not necessarily to a hole, we're just going to find what kind of speed the green is. And so we've got some indication of how hard or soft to hit the ball. Because it's really important we do get the speed right for the day, so we give ourselves maximum opportunity to hold the putt. And I'll just give you a little brief insight into the capture speed and how we can attune ourselves to the optimal capture speed for that day. So if you pop over here, if we're putting towards the hole and we're putting dead weight, this ball will enter the hole first before these two balls, because we're not putting to a straight line. The edge of the hole is round, so these balls have got a greater distance to travel. The other thing is, if you watch the ball, you might not see on camera, but if we roll the ball, when it comes to rest, it wobbles. The artifacts on the green, the pure fact that the ball's not balanced, and no balls are perfectly balanced. You might get close, but they're not uniform. So you roll the ball and then watch it, and as the speed decays, the ball will start to wobble. Now, if you're putting dead weight and you're not quite centre cut, the ball's got a greater distance to travel, and over that distance it could be wobbling, and then it can catch the lip, it might lip out, it might even wobble and just roll away. So we want to put the odds in our favour. We want to eliminate that wobble, that instability, if you like, interference. So as the ball decays, it's still travelling. As the speed decays, it's still travelling at a speed that gives it maximum chance of going in. And so what distance would that be, Alex? What distance do we put to past centre court?
12 inches from the centre of the cup. 12 inches.
So that distance there, 12 inches past centre court, is a critical distance. If your ball were to miss, but to finish inside 12 inches past centre court, that ball was travelling at a speed that if it were to catch the hole, it would probably have gone in. So what you're doing is you're stacking the odds in your favour of holding a putt, and that's all we can do. We see the ball going in, we expect to hold it, we're fully committed, but we've got to make sure all the odds are in our favour, and by tuning ourselves to the green speed for the day, we can ensure that we've basically got a good opportunity to hold the putt. So dead weight putting, you've got to be practicing a lot to refine that and be really good, because you've got to be hitting the centre cut all the time. Now, sometimes you can go on the course and it could be for the reason Alex stated, that the putting green is not quite kept as well as the actual green. They do generally cut the greens at the same time, so they won't, they do, some courses might not and some might, but don't leave that to chance. So when you go to the course, you could either roll some balls, okay, just to get an idea, and then use your digital spirit level to find a 0-0 putt, so 0%, because we're not sensitive to slopes of say 1%. When it gets to 2%, we can start to sense that slope. It's like looking at straight lines. 1%, we might not know if that's not quite vertical, but at 2%, we can definitely see it. Now, if you were putting completely unknowingly on a 1% downhill slope, but thinking it's flat, and then you go on the first hole and you've got the same putt, 8 foot say, but it's 1% uphill, but we don't recognise 1% because we can't pick up on that 1%. We've got a 2% differential, and that putt might finish short of the hole on the uphill putt on the course, and we're like, geez, these greens are slow, not like the putting green, but actually, what you didn't pick up on was that 2% differential, and that is enough to make a marked difference, a really noticeable difference between the putting green and the actual course, and that's going to influence how you read the putt, because you're going to put to a certain speed, and that's going to influence how you read the line into the hole. So you might be more of an aggressive putter. I know Alex is, and that's good. Depends on the circumstances, I suppose. But it all depends on how confident you feel, how you read a putt, and it's very personal to you. But the first thing we need to do to enable ourselves to make a decision on how hard we want to hit it is know how fast these greens are. Okay? You're not going to walk onto Augusta without going on the putting green. Okay? You're not going to go at Bawtry, where I am, without going on the putting green, because the difference between those two courses, obviously we've not got an Augusta near us, but we do have really good golf courses, and our greens are fantastic. But there's a lot of good golf courses around us that have got maybe 11 stim. Okay, we might be 9, but they might be 11 as an average stim. So that's a massive difference. And if you're playing on your home course week in, week out, and then you go for a day out with your mates to a different course, and you don't want a putting green, what have you got to reference? How are you, suddenly it's guesswork. And then we've not really got an argument to get mad with ourselves if we're not giving ourselves a fair chance by taking in the information available.
That's why I've actually got to get off tonight, because I'm off to Augusta, you see, so... I'll give you feedback tomorrow morning.
The DJ.
Like, it's got wheels up in about 2 hours.
private jet in Manchester.
What we're going to do, we're going to look, so we'll hold his private jet for a bit. Okay, so...
NetJet's got
I was going to say, just get on NetJet's hotline and tell him to have a spell and tell him.
I think there's another point as well, which I forgot to add, which is really important, is that I only ever use one ball when I'm on the putting green. The reason being, most people get 3 balls out instinctively, I don't know why, but they get 3 balls out and they go to the same hole. First ball misses left, second ball misses right, third ball goes in. It's like, oh, now I've got it. Well, the thing is, with that, more often than not, they've not actually then stepped away, gone back, they've just gone bang, bang, bang. And that for me is kind of cheating to a certain extent. So I want to try and replicate how I'm going to act on the course, because on the course you only get one chance. So I think it's a really good decision that you can adopt by just taking one ball onto the putting green every time, because you only get one chance.
Cool. So we're going to move to about 9 foot away, and what you've created, 9 foot from what, you might be asking, you might not be able to see it on the ground, but what I've created is a rectangle, and with a gap of roughly 12 inches. Okay, so that 12 inches is the capture speed, and what we're going to do is we're going to move away, so you want to come and have a little bit over here if you don't mind. What we're going to do, we're just going to practice putting for 9, 10 feet, can go closer, can go further away, but what we're doing, we're attuning ourselves to the green speed. So we could say that you want a few foot Alex. So we're not.
So for purposes of this exercise, you can actually use as many balls as you want.
Yeah, I've got some more. I'll roll you back on a few of these to see. Brilliant. So notice, Alex, as you'd expect being a high-level player, got better and better and better. So first one was too far, we very quickly calibrated. But what is he calibrating to? He's calibrating to the green speed. He's not being distracted by a hole or a break or anything like that. It's a flat putt, 0%, usually to spirit level. And you've got now a method of attuning yourself to that green speed. So your stroke is attuning itself so you know how hard you're going to hit the ball, and then you can move further away or closer, depending on how you feel. But That's a really purposeful exercise. You're now going to the putting green with a purpose. There's a meaning behind what you're doing. It's not just putting, and also, if you miss a few putts, like Alex said, you might miss one left, you might miss one right, you don't get that chance in the game. So, is that really helpful, seeing the ball miss? And are you learning? Really good. Oh, nearly. Now every roll past that rectangle is potentially reducing your chances of holding that putt. Every foot you go past that reduces the capture size of the hole by 10%. So if you're going 2-3 foot past the hole, you're literally losing the edges of the hole because the ball is travelling too fast for gravity to pull it into the hole, because the ball's got to go down. It's actually a flight. It is a ball flight. It's going along the ground and into the hole. And gravity has to pull it in. If it's going too fast, it's not going to have time. So you can start to see putting a different way. So once we've done that, and we've got our green speed calibrated to our stroke, or should I say stroke calibrated to the green speed, we can start to move on to some breaking putts. Now we've got the luxury of the green stage today. The Zen green stage is the ultimate toy. If you've got indoor simulators and you want the perfect edition, you need a Zen green stage because you can change the environment. You can hit full shots too. So we do it a lot. Just going to show you it. So what we also provide with it, if you want, is a driving range map. High quality as you'd expect, with it being Zen, and basically you can use it at home with your simulator, and now you've got hanging lines or sloping lines. So you can ball above feet, below feet, uphill, downhill. So you can start to adjust and adapt your skill at home with your indoor sim. So it's like the ultimate simulator. You'll probably see some on Instagram, Ian Poulter. There's a few other pros who've got them now on tour. Poulter's always posting it. Have a look at his Instagram page. It's brilliant. You'll see how he uses it. Uses it for putting and for full swing with his TrackMan. It works. It's compatible with all launch monitors. So no matter what monitor you've got at home, it's going to be fine with the green stage. But ultimately, we're using it for putting today. It's a putting instrument really. So we've got a serious breaking putt here.
Yeah, I think so.
Probably a bit less.
I don't need bad images going into this week, do I?
DJ was very bad again. Is that good?
Just a bit more.
So the notion of training your stroke with a straight putt is really flawed because we don't have any straight putts. It's like the unicorn, a straight golf shot. Okay, it doesn't really exist. No matter how good you are, and Alex is a top level player, there's always some spin axis to it generally. You can get 0-0, and Alex probably gets it more than the average, well, definitely gets it more than the average guy. But nevertheless, we had a lesson the other day, and the ball, it looks like it's flying straight, and for all intents and purposes, it is straight, but it's like less than a 1 yard draw, and it falls off to the right. It's a beautiful fly. Looks straight, but there's still spin axis tilt, okay? Because of the variability. When you strike a golf ball, there's a lot of factors there. Same with putting, even though it's all about face angle with putting, so could be controversial, okay, depending on what model you follow. If you follow a swing model, I suggest you just find your own natural model. It is your model, nobody else's. But path doesn't have that much influence on the ball. For example, Billy Mayfair, for you guys who are old enough like me, you remember Billy Mayfair used to slice across it. Now it might have some influence and maybe a tiny bit, but not enough to override the face angle. It's not like hitting a full shot with loft. It's got no loft. So particularly Zen putters, we've got less loft because we don't want the ball launching. We want zero, if possible, zero deflection because the golf ball isn't round. You're hitting sharp edges. So the hexagonal edges, and it's just a lot of sharp edges which don't get compressed. When you hit a full shot, you're compressing the golf ball. So you deform the golf ball, and then it reforms and separates. So you get a collision, deformation, it reforms as it separates. So you don't get that in putting. So you're hitting sharp edges, and if you hit the ball on a sharp edge, it can deflect the putt by a degree. And that's enough to miss when you get slightly further away from the hole. So with the Zen Putter, I'll just show the Oracle, we've got the RDE, the reduced dimple error design, where the face, and this has been around for a long time, and attempted copies have been made, but there's nothing like the real thing. And essentially what we've got here, instead of the grooves going in, they protrude. So instead of it being concave, it's convex, and the dimples fit, the way it's been designed, the dimples fit between the grooves. Now you're not always going to get every dimple, that's why it's reduced dimple, but the majority of dimples will fit, the edges will fit between the grooves. So essentially now, you're hitting a smooth object. And that is the difference between Zen Oracle and normal putter. And we've got a full range of these, and hopefully we're going to bring them all back out into the marketplace. They were revolutionary a few years ago, many years ago. Nick Middleton is a pioneer in putting, and he's the mastermind behind Zen Putting Mechanics, Zen Golf, and the biggest influence on certainly my coaching philosophy. And then we've gone on to evolve with full swing and short game and everything you see today. But ultimately, this is where it's born out of, and this is the hardware to the software. Now, the Zen GRF board is also the full swing hardware, and that is the perfect accompaniment for the full swing, and this for the putting. But if these aren't available, but hopefully they will be soon, what we do have is we have a Zeno. Okay. Now the Zeno, this is a prototype, guys, and we're going to be bringing it to market soon. So you don't want to be missing out on these. The lead time won't be as long, I hope, as a GRF system, okay, because they're not quite as difficult to make. But essentially, this will attach to your putter. And then you've essentially got your own Zen Oracle at home. It will come with a download. And what I want to show you now is just a couple of simple drills you can do with this, okay, to help tune your stroke. Now, if you haven't got one of these, it's going to be difficult. You can maybe make something, I guess, at the moment, but it's really just an introduction into the philosophy behind the putting and how you can use simple training aids like this to create real meaning with your movement and ultimately find your natural stroke. So, Alex, do you want to take the real putter and we're a high-tech company. We do go old school sometimes. This is blue tack. so we'll stick it on the front first. Yeah.
It's also worth mentioning, Marcus, that these putters not always grow in different shapes as well. So
yeah,
the Oracle.
I mean, that's the Oracle. It's a legal putter. It's a training aid, but it's also a legal putter. But we do have lots of cool designs, cool accessories, Zen Tour works. These have been used on tour as well for many years. This is the Zen Tour model, this is mine, and I go to bed with this.
It's
Nobody's having this.
It's mine.
George is there behind the camera saying this is mine. It's definitely not his. Okay, I'm not sharing this. I would share my last Rolo, but I'm not sharing this. So it's the Zen Tour model. It's an absolute piece of art. Made in Sheffield. This is a made in Sheffield story. This Steel City. You can see the quality craftsmanship. it's just basically high precision engineering, quality products, but more importantly, it's the engineering behind it. It's the mastermind behind it. And Nick designed a fantastic system, fantastic range of putters, and they're all interchangeable and adaptable because we're all different, so that we adapt the putter. So Alex has got a putter in his bag that's been adapted to him, so you can change the hosels, you can change the face, you can change whether the mallet.
Yeah, the weight as well. This is toe hang, you'll be able to see. I've got more, I like to feel more, that's why I've got lid tape as well, 'cause it's my personal putter as well. I've got more weight in the toe overall, and that's just the way I like it. It's been bent to my specifications and length as well.
We'll talk a little bit about how you can set up the ball in a minute, but just using something like this can really help attune you to the stroke so that we can take the hit out of the stroke. It's a putting stroke, not a hit. And so we need to attune ourselves to the stroke, which means we need to attune ourselves to a ball roll, not a hit. So this is a stroke, therefore we need to feel and sensitise ourselves to the weight of the putter. So what this does, essentially, raises our awareness, heightens our attunement to the stroke by amplifying our senses for what we're doing, essentially rolling. So we're going to, if we can level the green off, please. So we're going to just go level first. We were going to talk breaking put back on off track as I always do. So, we'll go back to breaking maybe. Just depends how much time we've got tonight, because we can't keep Alex all this time because he's got his pilot waiting. So we're going to go down here, missing his Netjets logo tonight. So we're going to use just a simple rolling exercise here. We put the ball in the aperture in front, and we're just going to roll the ball back and forth. And just basically just getting a feel for what this stroke is. It is a stroke, it's just a pendulum stroke. If you don't have one of these nose, which I guess you don't because I've got them, so essentially just roll your swing your putter back and forth and just get a feel for the swinging action of the putter. This is doing the same thing but with the ball. And then when Alex feels comfortable, he can then release it to the hole. And it goes in every time with a Zeno.
Well, you missed a minute.
Shh, edit that one out. So basically, he's just feeling the stroke, and this stroke, okay, is organising itself. It's not thinking about any mechanics, it's just rolling the ball, so your attention is on the ball roll and the line into the hole, which is what it should be. Brilliant. Now we can start to adapt this drill, because you might not have a sense for that natural backswing, using the momentum of the putter to swing the putter back and through. So we can change the orientation of the Zeno. We can put it on the back of the putter.
Zen Blue Tack.
Zen Blue Tack, that's what we need next. Yeah. There we go. So yeah guys, if you are in England, it's worth a trip. It'll be opening soon. The range is open, the shop's closed at the moment. It's a brand new refit. Downstairs is an Aladdin's cave, and it's got the boys' toys and it's got the green stage. And just through the doors, you've got the top tracer bays. So you could spend all year if you've got the time. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put the ball in the aperture at the back. So we would normally use the Zen Oracle with the aperture in the middle, but this is if you don't have the Zen Oracle. So now we're just going to roll the ball, but what we're going to do, we're going to place a ball behind and a ball there for Alex to hit.
No, it's just a bit tough. So get stuck on the ball. This is the bridges as well. I'll have to adapt tonight because normally you use elastic bands.
Nice, looks the same. It's got waiting there too. As he's training. Right, We'll talk about posture and stuff in a minute. So, too short.
That's all right.
So, and back. So, ball in the aperture, back, a ball directly behind, in line with these balls on the putt line. And then what Alex is going to do on the way back is going to release that ball to hit this one, and then put through with the actual ball to the hole. Perfect, as I'd expect, to be honest with Alex. So, basically, we've got this natural stroke. It's not a straight back, straight through, by the way. The ball's being released off on a tangent. What we're doing is we're attuning ourselves to a backswing and a follow through, feeling that pendulum stroke and rhythm. So he makes it look easy. And it is easy with one of these, I must admit, because you lose, not that Alex has got any of that going on in stroke, but if you feel like you've got a bit of a yippy action, okay, or a hit, and you want to remove that, this does it immediately. I actually think personally, this is a great exercise for your full swing. So I think doing this before you play, if you've got a tendency to hit at the ball, going on your putting green, I would suggest maybe going on the putting green before you go on the driving range, using one of these and going to a longer putt, maybe a 20, 30 footer, releasing the ball back, putting through, then maybe get a sandwich out or a 9-9 and do some chipping, and then gradually extend it through, work back from the hole to a full swing. And what you're doing is you're taking that attunement there with the club, no matter what club you're using, you're going to work back from the putter and sense that swinging rhythm, that tempo, okay? So, 2 simple drills. Now, obviously, you're limited if you've not got one of these, but that's just to give you a bit of insight into what's coming and what we use day in, day out here with Zen Golf Mechanics. Now, what I'd like to do, if you want to just kick your shoes off again. So, yeah. What we're going to do quickly is just talk about posture, something you can do at home. So you could even do this with us now if you've got your putter at home. This would be good. We're going to look at how you address the ball. So how do you prepare yourself to putt? How do you get in? How do you know if you're in the right position? So first thing we're going to do, another training tool we've got coming to market, the Zen clips. Other eclipses don't work.
This would be a great way of actually demonstrating the length. So can you adapt this?
Yeah.
So when I get into it, you can just pull it up to my length.
Yeah. So you can have changeable, adaptable lengths as well. I know it sounds like an infomercial, it really isn't. Because well, you can use this as well. This is legal as long as you don't change the length for your small people. Yeah. In some departments. Every department. Talking about my nose and my ears. So, how do we find the right distance from the ball? So often, a big question I get is how far should I stand from the ball? Well, your eyes are going to tell you, okay? The body will adapt. Putting is very much about vision and balance. So eyes and feet and feel, hands, okay? The mechanics organise themselves the same way. If you were rolling a ball, it's a great practice exercise to do. When you get on the putting green, roll a few balls, and get used to that rolling action, because essentially that is your putting action. So you can start to just feel the movements you're going to need for your putting stroke by doing some simple exercises on the putting green. What we're going to do here, and Alex has got his shoes off so you can see now, you can feel the green, feel where his feet are, feel the balance in the feet better. And all I want Alex to do first is just tip forward and find the eye line. Now the eclipse, this little training tool, when Alex is in position over the ball, he won't see any of that eclipse. So the ball, that's it. The ball is occluding the eclipse underneath, okay? Or the coin, so there's no eclipse, no edge. Now that doesn't mean he's directly over the ball, because we all have different eyesight, okay? He might be inside, outside, left, right. What it means is, for him, he's in the perfect place. It means for you, you'll be in the perfect place. We're not trying to stand in the same place when we are very different and we see things very different. So the body, like in life, will let you know, it will adapt to how it needs to move. So once we've found where we need to be, essentially now we're going to find our balance. And Alex, if you just raise your toes, Alex, and Alex can now feel the balls of his feet and the heels, which is the tripod. And we're going to distribute the weight evenly over that tripod. Find your balance there, Alex. Find your eye line. And notice now, Alex's arms are just hanging naturally from the shoulder. So if Alex was to put his left arm back, this arm now can swing freely from the shoulder. And it's swinging through its gravity line. So there's no manipulation. And you can relax the toes. That's the stance. And now we're going to bring the putter in. Now this thumb here is key. And this is what the Zen grip's for. There's a red dot. That's where Alex is going to place his thumb. This is a reference. Okay, so we can now bring the putter in and find where his thumb is and just tighten the shaft there. And then Alex can bring the left arm down, and that putter's now fitted. Okay, lie angle we can adjust if necessary, but essentially this is how we fit a putter. Fit a putter, should I say? Okay, easy for me to say. So we're now fitting the putter to Alex's posture, which is being organised naturally around vision and balance and a natural arm hang. So we're taking the manipulation out of it. And then we can let Alex have a putt and just I thought it was going to go on. I thought it was going to hold it there. We're going to. He's not getting. The golfer's excuses are coming out. He's not getting paid for this today now. He's on a bonus if he holds it. Oh, bonus! He's got his bonus. So, simple things you can do: find your balance from the ground with the arm hang based around the eye line. Now this will come with the Zeno and other tools as part of the pack, with a download, with the training exercises. But essentially it's the diameter of the ball. So if you make something, diameter of the ball, place it under the ball, piece of paper, just cut it out. Use that to help align your body visually to the ball. Find the posture, natural arm hang. And you're on your way then, now, to making a stroke without having to manipulate, without excessive tension. And then you can use the rectangle drill to attune your stroke for that capture speed. So let us know if you've got any questions, guys, on the putting. Any questions, Craig?
No, but someone said Alex has feet like flippers. No wonder he has good balance. If there's any questions.
So let's have some questions, guys. If you want, we can go into breaking putts. There are going to be some social media posts and some tutorials. We've shot some other content here to help you with your putting. This is just a bit of an insight tonight on how you can apply some of the basic principles of Zen putting mechanics to help you. And then we can elaborate on that further.
I
Yeah,
can touch on something if you want.
Yeah.
Well, I think what you were talking about earlier with just simply rolling the ball, I think there's the way that you can perceive that as well. It's not just about rolling the ball. I want you to try and imagine that you're doing it with style and you're doing it like the finesse. Yeah. So when you are rolling, it's not style. It's not a case of like that. You've got to have an element of flow. So you can just do this at home by just let it go. So when you then come to that putt, rather than feel like you don't want it to look like ticking boxing, you're just trying to get characteristics right and the similarities of the way that I feel. So I want to be able to still freewheel to a certain extent as well.
You can expand on that by taking the ball. If you want to think of chipping, so if you want to go from chipping, you can throw the ball to each other, okay? But when you catch it, you don't want to feel like collision, okay? It's like a cricket ball. You go with it, and you can go with the flight, and then throw it back. So it's a gentle throw, and then you go back, and you're going moving with it. So you're adapting your body, going with the trajectory, and then bring it back. And so you've got to move. Now there's simulation going on. Because I've got to, which I didn't do that time, perhaps made it a bit difficult.
Well, I had a connection with you then. I had this connection. So that is the connection that you want with the hole. I want that kind of, not finish that's the wrong word, but I want that extension through connection with really getting involved in the hole. I was tuning myself to the way that Matt was throwing the ball and kind of reacting instinctively, which is the word instinct.
Instinct, and I was going to say intuition.
Yeah.
So it's an intuitive awareness that you're actually using to organise your movement, because what you're using now is powerful imagery.
Yeah.
So you're starting to now, you're starting to simulate. So it's a projection, and your golf shot is a projection. I've got to throw this ball back to Alex. I've got to simulate. So I'm playing out simulations, and it's a projection of an image, which I'm coupling up with action. It's a perception action coupling. But what I'm also doing here is I'm taking out a hit. I'm actually simulating an extension of this trajectory, and then coming back. So we're starting to move around in that stylistic kind of elegant, if you like, I'm not so elegant, but elegant way. But what we're starting to do is adapt our body in a meaningful way. And when you're taking this action here, which is there's no hit, what we're doing is, guys, we're taking the impact out of it, and the release is free flowing. So the release is just a release.
It reminds me of a scene from Mighty Ducks where they used
That's how in tune we are.
They used an egg. They used an egg with an ice hockey stick, and they rolled eggs, and they had to bring it back with the egg to hit the egg back to them.
There you go.
Yeah,
So there's loads of things where we're actually just tapping in to what evolution has equipped us with inherently, and that's how you operate in everyday life. You don't think about your movement until you start picking up a thing like a golf club. Then you start thinking how you move. But as soon as you put it down, you're off and you don't think. So something like this, which actually, guys, is very complex, because there's got to be a relationship with me and Alex, which is like, as Alex alluded to, is like the golf shot. This is very much a reality. Okay, if you're visualising something, it becomes tangible. And now you're actually moving in response to that imagery. It's very powerful how you react. If you're going through the same old protocol, okay, how am I expected to react to Alex, and how am I expected to be able to move, to throw, so he can catch it? How am I expected to create a synergy between me and him, an understanding, a relationship, if I'm static and going through the same motions, and then he is too? So the problem is, we'll probably miss each other's throws and continue to do it because we're going through the same protocol every time, we get the same results, and then we're scratching our heads thinking, why is this not working? But we're probably not undertaking a very adaptive approach which affords us plasticity for movement. And golf requires this, because we're on a flat slope here, but normally you're going to have some break, just like the golf shot. Balls don't generally roll or fly straight. So that means you've got to be able to react.
Load of questions here now, guys, if you want to bundle through them. First question from Bradley Rounds is, do you subscribe to any dominant eye positioning?
To be honest, this takes care of it all for putting. Okay, this takes care of it all, because no matter what eye dominance, what strength, okay, because you can have a right eye dominance, but the strength is different. Okay, because we're all we don't all have the exact same dominance. So, like you'll see a dart player, they'll move the dart towards the dominant line, but some will be over here, some over here, some over there. It's like snooker with the cue. Okay, you've got to find what's right for you. Something like this finds that automatically. So if you can find a route of finding it naturally, that's the way. You can't subscribe. This is not a prescription.
I guess this is towards Alex being a tour pro. Would you advise a line on the ball? Is it, you know, how would you advise it?
Good question. I've always gone sometimes full circle with this. Sometimes I've felt like the line helps. Other times I think it can distract. So I think it's about finding your geek to a certain extent, finding what you feel comfortable with. I think there's pros and cons to it without going too extensively. I would experiment with both. Because a lot of people, I would say, predominantly use a line, don't they? So if you haven't got the read quite right, and you're only ever going to be kind of hitting the stroke based on that line that's actually down. Because sometimes I would line something up, and I would stand over it and think, oh, it's not quite right, and I'll still hit the putt. And that's like noise, a noise that I don't want. Then I lose the connection between me and the ball then. So that's nice.
Yeah, I agree with that last bit. So I agree with it's interference, it's shifting your attention to the ball. And your attention should be on the putt. So we make it a stroke, and the ball is creating the putt. The ball's just in the middle of the stroke. It's not an end point, and it's not something we're hitting. And it's the stroke, and the face angle is reacting to our intention, and our intention is on the putt, means now our face angle is reacting to the putt. Whereas if there's a line on the ball, I'm trying to square a face angle up to that line, and when we stand over the ball, there is going to be some parallax compared to where we were when we lined it up, because we're at the side of the line. So now when we look, we might not trust it. It's throwing interference, it's throwing noise into the system, I think, personally, but that's just me looking at it from a coach's perspective. But players can sometimes, for me, it's an attachment thing. Players feel comfortable maybe doing it, but for me it's more of just an attachment. It's more of a strategy. I won't go as far to say coping strategy, but it's a form of protocol. But essentially it tells me they don't trust themselves. Okay? It tells me they don't trust themselves. Because do you need a line on a ball to throw it? Do you need a line on a football to kick it? Do you need a line on a football and then to kick into out to know that you're putting right to left spin on it? Of course you don't. Okay? You don't need some form of reference on the ball, because all it's doing is detracting you from intuitively reacting to that shot. That's personally my opinion.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because I also think that in terms of people watching this might think that we are quite clinical to a certain extent with watching me stood over the putt, going through my routine. That run up to the putt.
Run up, you need to talk about that.
Yeah,
That's really terminology on our
yeah. I think what I also try and do, the question was asked, what do I do when I go to the tournament and greens? And I answered it, I do what I feel like I need to do at that moment in time. And an off-cut of that would be, I like to be playful and adaptive to how I actually want to approach the putt. So for example, touching on our conversation and throwing the ball to each other, and how to create elaborate movement and fluency and flow and all those sort of words that you can use. I will just maybe demonstrate these three balls. As I take the putt, yes, I'm going through like a borderline system approach, but I want to be creative. Look at speed. And I think Justin Rose did it in a massive one. It takes unbelievable bottle to look at the target and hit the putt. So we're taking a totally different look at it. Now I'm going to do it different. Now I want to feel like I'm going to actually hook it in a little bit. Yeah. Now I'm going to slice it. Because if I feel like I'm getting far too bogged down with technique, I will go into this mode of practicing, being playful. Maybe even making my routine very, very fluid to the point where I don't stand still. I keep moving all the time. So I go into the putt. One look, I haven't got a chance to stop. To go putt. Move into it. Just keep moving, doing things like this. Be really creative, just like heightened sense of awareness, really trying to tune myself to for what I want to feel like throughout the day, which is to be playful, creative, elaborate, because that ultimately is what play is. I don't want thinking about doing it too much.
No, I'm watching us. I'm just looking at the questions.
It's not that good.
Just looking at that question. Just looking at that angle for the feed.
There was a good one on wrist, using the wrist.
Would you strike the ball with a stroke that was longer on the backstroke than the follow through, like pop putting?
Well, I can answer that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't ever think about that. I think you start thinking about that's going down into the analysis room, and this is what it's kind of free from all of that, because ultimately this is now changed, by the way, so we've got a lot of slow. So I can now just work on being instinctive. I can go long backswing, short follow through, stab it, half a chance. I can go short backswing, long through, turn out. So there's no, I think the rules need to go out the window to a certain extent, especially with putting, because putting, you can train, I could train my grand to putt quite well within the space of an hour, I would say. Would I be able to do that with a driver? No. So I think that with putting, if you look at all the great players, they all putt so different, as well as the swing. Nobody swings it the same, nobody puts the same. So you've got to find like your authenticity in the way that you move, really. So your signature style is what I've often heard Marcus talk about.
Yeah, and to be honest, signature style emerges when you don't recognise what's taking place. And that it's on reflection you recognise what happened. So when you throw a ball, that throw there, the movement of the arm is like a blur. But the ball's going where you want it to, pretty much. But the action you've made was autonomous, and that is signature style because you're not thinking about it. It's the movement you're creating while your mind's on the intention. And when you throw a ball effortlessly, you're using signature style movement. That's why throwing. That's why I think making exercises which are natural to you, and then taking that same level of effort and that same sensation there into a golf shot. Now having a swing, can you swing with that same level of effortlessness? And if you can, you're tapping into some kind of signature style pattern there because you're not thinking too much. But I mean while hitting golf balls, because without a golf ball it's meaningless. So it's like practice stroke. If it's not really done in a purposeful manner with intention, it's worthless because it's not actually representative of what you intend to do. So what are you actually moving for? There needs to be a purpose to movement. So ask yourself, what is the purpose? Why am I moving? Why am I doing this? And if you can't really answer it objectively in a way that makes sense towards your intention, then I think you've got to reassess what you're doing, your process, if you like. So maybe throw a ball. It could be against the wall with a tennis ball, okay? And just feel that free swinging arm, and you'll notice there's a weight shift as well. So you'll feel there's a weight shift. You're throwing a ball, tennis ball against the wall, and you'll feel there's a weight shift. Very quickly, then grab a club, a sandwich in your hand. It could be right or left, depends on how you play. And then swing the club the same way now, and with the same weight shift. So you're now feeling that flow through the body. So without thinking about it, you're moving in a way that is similar to other signature style movements. Maybe put a tennis ball on the floor and whack it against the wall. But can you play that shot with the same feeling that you had when you were throwing the ball? Or is there a hit? Is there some kind of response to this ball?
Distortion of the system.
Exactly, because that means your attention is shifted when the ball's there, and it means your intention now has gone from throwing the ball against the wall to actually thinking about how you'd let go of it. And now that's essentially moving towards yipping, and that's why the Zen is important, because it can get you back into that rolling motion, but with the actual instrument you're going to use for hitting the ball. That's why it's important. So it's not a superficial adaptation to your putter. It's actually attuning your senses to movement with the instrument you're going to use. But if you haven't got that, don't worry. I'd throw a ball against the wall basically, and then get a sand wedge, and then just even clip some, turn around if you've got a net or something, and clip some balls in that direction. And then if this feels a little bit, if you like, mechanical, a little bit artificial, then go back to throwing, kind of feel, where do I feel my movement from the ground, think about where this power is coming from, where's this momentum coming from. So this arm can't swing on its own, but it can. Okay, if I don't move my body, that is effortful movement, if you like, and this is effortless. We want the effortless. So how am I accessing that effortless movement? Well, you're moving everything else. Because if nothing else is moving, then I've got to move that physically. If everything else is moving, this just starts to react. So I'm transferring force through my body to the arm, then do the same thing, just put some balls away. Something like that. So, breaking pull, we are going to go onto the range. I think Alex is going to have to go, but I don't know if I'd love you to stay for now. Yeah, because I think if we can get insight into how Alex approaches his practice, we're going to take you. This is VIP treatment for all the Zen Jedis. Nobody's got access to the store, American Golf, and we've got an exclusive opportunity to use the custom fitting bays today. The place is heaving tonight. So
I mean, look at that, Mark. It's almost worth noting. Look at the queue that is outside.
yeah, the queue's out there now.
The diversity of people is just
It's awesome.
it's class.
We're seeing
Young
a lot of young people, and they're queuing all the way in. It's been brilliant. So everyone's golf's on a real high at the minute, and it's enjoying a real. Nearly.
It's doing great now.
He's throwing in some interference. Yes. So this is where it becomes really playful. Practicing on the flat putt is a pretty mundane experience, and you might only get one straight putt in a round of golf. The short putts are straight.
Everybody's got residents with thinking about something too much to the point where it then doesn't allow them to be able to pull the trigger. So this idea of fixing on something, which is what we're trying to get across by training instincts, is what we're trying to do, isn't it?
Yeah, it's open loop.
Yeah.
So this is a closed loop activity we initiate, but with an open loop mindset. And so this is a mental break.
Definitely been no rehearsal for this one.
Michael, I thought you were going to hit the ball with a Zeno like a sweet spot training aid. Would it help also with that? Michael, what I'd recommend for that is probably just occlude the toe and the heel. So I did that on a couple with Marcus a while ago.
He just boxed it, by the way.
That's good enough. I heard it. You could just occlude, put some tape on the toe and the heel so you only leave the sweet spot, and see if you can, and then you get a real sense, feel, sound, where you're striking it from, and attune into the sweet spot. So something like that could help. Jared, you've stopped using your practice stroke. Yeah, a lot of players are doing that. Chops away, Alex. Could you put singing a song in your head? You could do whatever you like, Dave, to be fair.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. You say that maybe as a joke, but the psychologist I worked with an Olympic swimmer, and he asked him when he won some major event, I don't think it was the Olympic gold medal, but there or thereabouts, and he asked him on reflection what was going through his head, and it was a theme tune to Captain Scarlet.
Was it?
So it's not always about, purity and mechanics. These sort of other things, and look at ball and even the record. What are the chippy nuggets and stuff like that? So it's not as technical as you think. We're just trying to do our best with what we've got at that moment in time. Sometimes it produces brilliance. Sometimes it produces horrendous results. Even when you've tried your best to optimise the way that you go into it. So your practice is brilliant, your thoughts are brilliant, your diet's brilliant. It can be the worst performance you have. You can go to McDonald's like Bob did.
think Colin Jackson, he used to have a ton of chocolate maybe obviously for energy, I suppose, as well. They've all got their own processes and their own routines, if you like. And I think that's something that, again, with a couple of markers on Insta, if you don't look to my Instagram, I did a few interviews and a few chats. It was on Mondays and Fridays in lockdown, and it was Alex was on a couple, Mark Nesty, Dr. Mark Nesty, who Alex was talking about earlier, and Richard Hallam was also a guest, a talk addict, and he was talking about players' processes. They are very much into processes and routines, but they're using processes and routines to afford them flexibility, and not in the physical sense, in the mental sense. They can adapt and see things. It's allowing them to essentially, like Alex said, elaborate and adapt and feel comfortable in their environment. So they're seeing a shot, they're going through the process, they're comfortable with that, and the distractions aren't there. They're actually ensuring that their attention is in the right place. And I think that's what a routine's quite good for, making sure your attention's in the right place.
Has Marcus got a wardrobe full of gilets?
Yeah. Only one, it's surgically attached.
Do you want to follow me down?
Yeah. Well, it's good for the blue tap on the face, that's why.
Oh yeah.
I was giving you a way out.
Yeah.
Can he do it when the pressure's on?
Can I do it on a cold night on a Tuesday, so... What was the line? Too slow. I'll probably have to see you later, guys. I might be here for a few hours.
Well, it goes uphill that bit, it's tricky.
Yeah, that.
It's slower green. You're going to come out with excuses. It's slower than Sheffield.
Need to hit it. I'll tell you what.
Oh.
Never mind. Put a foot on it. So, yeah, follow me. That's. You follow Craig and then take him through the shop as well. Oh, yeah. George, give him a bit of a tour.
Look at this. Look at the amount of stock there is in here. Golfer's paradise, this. There's a few bob worth of stock in this place. What's his swing like? Oh, practice swing.
These are the fit days. So come through. I'll show you. Over here. Here's the Zen fitting bay for the next hour or two.
This is a lovely place, isn't it?
Huh?
This is a great place.
Beautiful.
Is it just opened?
I think it opens 12th of April.
Yeah.
Fitting bays are open now. Then the shop opens 12th of April. GC Quad.
Oh. Rory on the wall.
Okay, Rory. Yeah, GC Quad down here. And then, yeah, awesome driving range out there. We've got a Premier Inn over here if you ever want to visit, by the way. It's the Premier Inn. Good thing about this range, multiple greens.
Yeah, lots of different targets.
Tiered greens, lots of mounds to hit.
Slopes. It's quite severely uphill as well. So that 250-yard sign you can see at the back is probably more about 280, 290, yeah.
Yeah, so let me get the guys. You keep talking, George. Oh, here they are.
Oh,
It's still on.
yeah.
Here's Marcus and the boys. So this is it, boys. GC Quad there. I need to get some balls, so just chat and get balls. How should I get how do I pay for the balls? In fact, that's...
Sorry, bud.
There's one somewhere hiding.
No worries, mate.
We got the range, we got the clubs, we got the players. Just need a few balls now.
players, that's debatable.
Yeah, I'm here.
Player.
It's okay, tag team. We can swap. We can swap you guys out now.
I'll give you a lesson when we finish this live. Left arm straight, head still.
We're still live.
Yeah.
You know, drop that just for the question.
Are we still live? If
Yeah,
we're
we
still
are.
live, drop us a
Yeah, we are, 'cause
message.
look, it showed everything here. Where is the shop? It's in Manchester. It's Trafford in Manchester. So yeah, if you're ever up here,
Just off the M62.
There you
Easy
go.
as.
So we've got a GC2, we've got the quad.
shout out GC2 Foresight.
So GC quad.
Goes up on the
Foresight
screen.
Sports. Is it?
Yeah,
Can you connect it?
No.
We need to speak to them. Yeah.
We've got Megs coming.
Believe so.
Asking if you can just. So it's a really really engaging range. You might not have the luxury of a range like this, but that doesn't mean you can't use your imagination. So there's bunkers, there's greens, lots of different targets, some elevated greens, lots of stuff to simulate real world play on the course. So it's a real golfing environment. So you can see if you have a look out, there's lots of different. They've even got a volcano over there on the Crazy Golf. Don't think you can see. Can you see the Crazy Golf one? don't hit the T-Rex. We are.
These balls are coming.
So we're just waiting for some balls, and then let us have some questions, guys, on the full swing stuff. We're going to ask Alex about his preparation. I mean, Alex, if you want to just start really, and just give a kind of idea about how you approach this. If you're practicing, also practice and also playing.
Yeah, I think the putting side of things really correlates with this side of it as well, because as I said before, I'm definitely not trying to tick boxing. I'm not trying to make sure I do 10 minutes stretching, 5 balls to start with, and go into like different positions and all that sort of stuff. I'm totally varied in my practice, because one of the things that I think is important for that is to keep it. It's important to keep it varied, to keep it stimulating. Otherwise, it just gets boring. I get bored really easy in all honesty. So let's take now, for example. So if I was playing a tournament tomorrow, I would probably approach this session a little bit different. Whereas now, I'm not even in my golf shoes, which is, I don't necessarily have to be in at all. But I think I'm gonna adopt the more playful approach. So I'm gonna mess about with like hitting high shots, low shots, trying to continue on from that last conversation we had about being playful and creative. I'm now going to try and infuse it into the way that I see the shots. So I'm going to be more externally focused on the target, and that's, ideally, it's probably wrong terminology. It's right terminology to some, but I think that even though I've just classed the target as external, I want that to be internal. I want that target as internalised as I possibly can. So I'm going to engage a lot more out there than I am in here, stood over the ball.
You know what you were saying earlier when we were throwing the ball, and you said there was a synergy, you could feel that interaction.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
That's the interaction, I think, that we're talking about with the target. I think this thing is active, okay? It's visualization, it's very real, and you can also, it's down to your own perception. So you can, the time of this as well, and the golf shot, the way you visualise it, it's all unique to you. I mean, how do you visualise? I mean, I'm not saying this is a framework for everyone. It's not. This is just how Alex sees it. But how do you see a golf shot, Alex?
Well, it starts on I suppose you need to get the data, don't you? So, for example, what's in front of me? Have I got trees? Is the pond? Where am I in the tournament? What's the distance that I've got? What's the height of the shot? Is it windy? All these questions get asked. And then you've got to then make your calculation on what's the best shot for that moment in time. So if I'm coming down the stretch and need to make birdie, I might take a slightly risky approach as if I'm playing the first hole of the tournament. And that's just, that's the same for me as it is for the club golfer playing the Sunday morning comp as well. So visualisation isn't necessarily like picturing something perfect to me. Sometimes you can picture something so great and then you pull it off. But there is a negative side to that as well. I think we've all had those moments where we try so hard to avoid that tiny bunker that's in the middle of the fairway, just slightly out of our reach. So we just take a little bit off it, and next thing you know, you hit it perfect and it's gone in that bunker. So the way that I visualise that in a negative sense can do me harm as well. So I don't put too much on being like totally exact. I think it's nice to get somewhere there or thereabouts, but in terms of like visualisation, like for now, if you want to point out there, George, I'm looking at the raised green, which I think is a bunker just in front of it. It's probably about 130 yards, if that. I'm seeing all those things, and I'm trying to like see the flight of the shot coming down. So obviously there's a bunker between the hole and the green. So in order for me, I don't want to be running it up because the chance I'll probably either go into the side of the raised green or into the bunker itself. So that one for me is like, well, logic says that I need to be coming from a height to land it soft. So that would then make my decision on what club I'm going to hit, how I'm going to approach like that actual shot as well. So the mechanics of it, and this is not about trying to just hit the shots by saying, okay, now I'm going to come to the range and be elaborate by being creative and playful. Don't get me wrong, we go under the knife like there is no tomorrow. So we're talking about foot mechanics, the roll of the feet in the swing, thoracic extension, all these like terminologies that me and Marcus have looked at over the years. They all have their place. But for me at this moment in time, tonight, I'm not really loose for anything, so I'm just going to enjoy it and just see what it produces. So that's my thought process based on now, which you should always be in the now as well, how we feel. So that is being present, and some would argue that present is the gift.
Yeah, I mean that's someone who's educated in himself, really, in his in how he feels. There's a level of awareness there. He knows how he operates. He knows how to elicit a state of performance. So Alex has won so many tournaments and played such a high level for such a long time, and there's more to come, obviously. But he knows how to put things in place to either practice or play, and how to evoke that state where he knows he's going to perform, he's seeing the shot, there's an understanding, like you said. I mean, that's a very intricate process we're talking about here, but it's executed effortlessly in the moment. So all these components, and you can break it down, you could chunk it into 1,000,001 different components, and there are plus many more, but ultimately it's just a natural process where he's looking and he's reacting. But in an effort to react more instinctively, intuitively, with a high level of awareness, when he practices, he does practice focusing on different components, which when it comes to the moment of truth and the golf shot, it all just blends in, it all configures, but he practices in a way that affords adaptability. It's not structured, it's not rigid, there's plasticity, and that's why Alex's mentality allows him to develop a skill set and utilise that skill set in a very, very organic way, which is adaptable. So when Alex is looking at this environment here, he's seeing the same thing as us, but he's going to use it in a different way. How are we getting on, Alex? All right, this is Alex, this is the manager at American Golf, so if you come down, say hello to Alex. We've got a lot to thank Alex for. We've been given privileged access tonight to this, so thank you very much, Alex. And,
There was a question, does Alex use a GRF system? And if so, would he use it at the range?
Great question. GRF system. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
I've got one, and we've been using the system
For a long time.
Yeah.
I'd say, I mean, as you know, I've developed the system over 12 years, and myself and Alex have known each other for a long time, not 12 years, but many, many years. And I think ever since day one, since Alex met me, I was using some form of it. So Alex has really been a big part of my journey in evolving this training aid. And so he's been involved every step of the way, probably as a guinea pig at some time. With
only 3 years of my life, I won't get back.
So yeah, I've tested everything out on Alex. Yeah, it's been a big part of Alex's evolution as a golfer. So big part of how I coach. So I'd say that's a big resounding yes, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it makes sense as well. Everything that you've said always makes sense, hence why the journey's continued, as opposed to going to see golf coaches which, don't get me wrong, even pros do it, you flutter from one to the next. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, but everything that me and my team kind of do, from my point of view, it needs to make sense. I'm not one to be just told what to do. The way I am, I want to know why. And the way, and also from my age point of view as well, I ain't got time now to really be testing stuff over a few years. I want to this is now, we're speeding up out, and I feel like we are speeding up, so we're definitely, the end goal is getting ever more close.
We're on the run up. I feel we're on the run up. I feel all the years it's all layered up, and look, we're not building this thing up to be a crescendo, but this thing is evolving all the time, and our relationship just gets stronger and stronger, but Alex's game is getting stronger and stronger as well, and so it's exciting in times ahead. And yeah, a big part of that obviously is what you know as the GRF system, but we've been using forms of this for a long time. And here
Speaking of which,
in all its glory.
It's mine, it's mine. It's battered from my garage.
That's great. This is not the one that you made, is it? The homemade one. So if you want to see Craig's homemade version of the Golf Duo, but what I would also suggest you do, and this is unashamedly advertised in everybody's in social media, but what I would suggest, because actually, in all seriousness, have a look at Alex's Instagram, Alex Belt Collective.
Yes.
Is it Golf? It's Collective.
Yeah.
Alex Belt Collective. Have a look at that, because you'll see posts on there of Alex using it, and some time-lapse stuff as well, where you'll see him go through his process and see how he uses it in a way that is bespoke for his needs. The thing is, when you get the system, you get the 2-hour download and you get the Infinity Learnscape. But what it's doing, it really is providing a learnscape for you to find the exercises which are most adaptable, most needed for you. So it's a bespoke approach with a systematic exercise program. So it might look like a generic framework, but actually it's just created a platform for you to reorganize this in a way that's meaningful to you and decide which exercises through trial and error. It's a system that you actually fine-tune your movement through trying all the exercises and finding out where your movement blind spots or distortion exist, and that can be potentially holding you back. That can be restricting that natural or that development, that natural evolution of your movement map, which is needed in the golf swing. So yeah.
Probably change time.
Is it all set? Yeah, that's is it lined up for us?
Well, it's not really. If it just
It is
lines up straight to the work.
Yeah.
Just right.
Just running straight to the mat.
That's with the mat, yeah. Yeah.
question, when's your next tournament, Alex?
I've got some mini tour events. First one's next week actually.
Oh, what was your Instagram again, Alex?
Alex Belt Collective. That's what it is.
Oh, that's it.
15 followers.
There was another question. Was Alex a difficult child? He seems to want to have the answers to everything in life.
I've not known him that long.
Ask his mum.
Still, I'm a difficult child.
We're all difficult children, aren't we, I think? Helen will tell you that I am, for sure. So, Alex, you come to the range, you're going to practice, you talked about being that playful child. Remember, play doesn't mean just messing about, as we talked about on that couple with Marcus. It's serious play. Toddlers, when you're watching them play, are immersed in play. We assume it's play. That's just our terminology for it. That child is immersed in that activity, and to them that's not play, it's serious. They're role playing. They are, whatever they're playing with, those figures, those toys, whatever it is, they are in certain places and it is serious play. They are learning. And so we're doing the same thing here. So play takes on a whole different context. At the end of the day, it's just how you interpret language. And that means something different to each and every one of us. So a toddler doesn't understand the word play, yet we call that play. I'd say we're doing that here.
Some technicalities going on here. I usually wouldn't stand in this position either, but I trust Alex.
There.
Science.
Appliance of science.
Someone, do you let your practice evolve, Alex? Have you let it evolve over the years?
The question was, do you let your practice evolve?
Do I let it?
Yeah.
I think it just naturally, if you're guided by the right people, a good insight into your own self and your own type of personality, as opposed to somebody. I could quite happily have 3 or 4 weeks not even hitting a golf ball and then go back to it and feel fine. Some people can't do that for 2 days. So it depends what you like, I guess.
I guess even logically, if you're practicing the same way your entire life, you're probably going to get very similar results
Well,
your entire life.
One, then happy days.
Yeah.
Chances are it isn't, so you have to adapt. But for these first couple of shots, what I will do, just to get a feel of the swing, I'm going to just mess about with exploring space. So I'm going to purposely hit a draw for this one. I'm going to hit a straight one, and I'm going to hit a cut. So just to calibrate something there. That's all I'm doing. Just being instinctive.
That wasn't an alignment stick. That was just something to calibrate the GC.
It's good. Now I'm just going to open up. Pretty straight. Maybe a 1 yard cut. Perfect.
Yeah, it's ripped.
And I'm going to go high. So you notice like my movement pattern different.
Oh, you're out of the area, that's why. You need to it'll tell you when you're in the area. There you go.
So he's going to hit a high shot here, and you'll see the difference in his movement.
That's a really great flag. Can you have a look on there?
It's not picking up on there. No, it's not. She could.
Let's have a look at their data. Oh, yeah, 20-degree launch, 0.5 left, 174 carry. What iron's that, Alex?
7
iron.
That's my high one. So this is going to be, I'll knock the flight down. So what was the last one, like 20 degrees?
Going to go a bit lower, knocking this one down.
Slightly lower. That'll be like my medium flight, really.
16.7. So the numbers are just affirming what he's sensing. We're not driving the practice with numbers, they're just giving some feedback, really.
So I've not really done this before, not using this system. So based on those 2 things that I've just felt, I'll try and then calibrate maybe 12 or 13 degree launch. And I'll just try and maybe figure out what that means that I have to do in order to adapt to try and get that number.
It's a pretty fly, a lot lower. So
Like
he's using,
dusting kind of flight.
so you're using this now as basically, it's a form of feedback, but it's almost like
That's
a toy.
14. Interesting.
You're actually playing now, this is a toy, you're actually playing with this in a way that's meaningful with your ball fly. I mean, they were 3 very different ball flights. Movement looks good.
So my normal 7-8, I feel like through the workouts and stuff, which you'll see on Instagram if you have a little look, I definitely feel, and it's not tried and tested because I'm not playing enough, we've only been back for 5 or 6 days, I've only been on the course twice, but I definitely have found myself airmailing quite a lot of greens, so that's something that I'm going to have to test before next week to try and figure out, if I'm actually hitting it way further than last year. So those numbers that I've got from last year in my tour bag, they might be totally out. So that's the body of work which I'm probably going to have to do. So that will be classed as my practice.
Can you show us those numbers?
I don't have them in my tail bag here, unfortunately. But I can try and reel them off.
Let's go.
Don't forget, the ball has a big impact on this as well. So this ball, I would always be doing my numbers with the ball that I use, and that's a tailor-made TP5X.
Johnny, from this angle as well, the light is lighting good, so you can kind of go anywhere. I think in here, it's not.
But just based on what I felt there, I'm guessing that this hopefully will go probably about 180.
Just come back.
Interesting to see the distance.
You get it.
Oh, it's not getting it.
It's not picked that one up. So we can see 17
185,
degree,
so
185. What I'm interested to see as a coach is that when Alex goes for the distance, what happens to his curvature? Does he start to get more curvature on the ball?
Yeah.
Has he got the control of his release pattern when he ramps up the speed, or does the noise level increase? And does he start to get more shape, or can he keep? Because we saw the knockdown shots, really controlled, awesome ball flight, very little curvature, just a little bit. They were perfect. Ramps it up, okay. Suddenly, have we got that same acuity?
Yeah.
Okay, it's that release pattern.
It makes sense as well, because if I was going to really go for it, and this is a 7, then I would actually then play for that curvature as well.
Right.
So to ramp it up, that was almost like feels like it's a natural thing which evolves. I know that I probably took that one 10 yards, which probably put the extra 5-6 yards on it, distance-wise, and that's what we're probably heading over the green.
So for me to challenge you,
yeah.
the next thing is then can we reduce the curvature?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you wouldn't play with the curvature,
Yeah.
but if affordances, if the shot, the course, that moment that we need, that one shot doesn't afford us that luxury of that curvature, or the conditions, the wind, can we reduce that? How acutely aware are we of our movement within these tolerances?
Yeah.
So we're acute, we are ramping up that movement acuity in response to that intention. And all the time, this is enriching awareness and attuning us more and more acutely to that perception action coupling. Because we've got to tighten that up, okay? We can't. What we've got to recognise, and this is what we've got to do too. When do you start to introduce distortion into the system? When does it start to enter? We can all chip and put. Okay, most people come through the door and say, "Oh, my short game's all right." Well, the noise levels are low. Okay, once you start to go higher, this is happening. It's a blink of an eye, and what do you recognise? Okay, what movement are you recognising, and to what level?
Okay, so you want less curvature then?
Yeah.
The less curvature, trying to hit that 180 mark. I'd say that was about right.
Yeah.
Feels about right.
So it's.
Maybe the same sort of distance.
180.
183, yeah.
What was the spin axis tilt on that? That was 6.4. What was it on the other one? Can we go back to the shot before?
No, I don't think you can do it on that. I think it's just normally it just comes on.
This lapdog is hooked up to another GC quad because every time I hear them here, it pops up here.
What are their numbers like?
Right.
Not like Alex's, I don't reckon.
Bit of a slice on theirs.
Dispersion.
Someone said,
Oh, yeah.
Alex, what's the club head speed difference between different ball flights? Do you think it's...
Don't know.
No.
No idea.
No.
It's totally intuitive.
Yeah.
It's a bit like asking me to throw it at that flag.
How fast was that?
Oh!
That's recorded as well.
So
That gives you a good idea.
Wheels up.
Do you need to know how you move?
Yeah.
I think that answered the question really.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It was intention.
That's so good.
So now,
Just shows, doesn't it?
now I'll try and ramp it. So I'm going to allow for that cross. I'm going to start to the right.
We're
I'm going to try and get 190. That's about right. I'll just walk.
I think. Yeah.
190.
That is awareness, isn't it?
Child.
That is awareness.
So this is a really fun way of using a launch monitor in a way that is playful, purposeful, intuitive, tuning the mechanics to intention. Obviously this is high level. Can you let's switch it to the cup because they're all drawing. So
Let's
it's
ask the
challenging.
audience. Send one in.
Yeah. Firing on the comments, guys.
Firing a shot.
Not that Alex is a performing monkey.
For the right price, maybe.
Tonight, Matthew.
One
Most people won't know.
We're not paying him enough for this. Yeah, if you want to know how to play any shots and how Alex plays them, to give you an insight and maybe some kind of things you can try on the range yourself, I'm really interested to know what kind of shots interest you, what kind of shots do you struggle with, and ask Alex how he plays them.
Yeah. So we want like cup.
Yeah, I want to see if you can neutralise that draw when you go flat out when you start to get so that 190. Can you change the ball like that 190?
What for the cup though?
So, yeah, can you go for the cup? Can you get the
Yeah,
cup
I would
the
say,
draw?
yeah, well, historically, a draw will always go further than the cup. It might.
Maybe it depends how you're playing it. It depends what you see. What
How I sense it and feel
Yeah.
it. It's like,
Now, it depends how you play it.
Debate.
If you're playing, yeah, this is good because a draw and a fade should go the same distance because all you're doing, if you're presenting the same loft, all you're doing is orientating the delivery difference. So it's kind of, all you're doing is just basically the path to the face. Essentially, if all the factors are the same, it's going to go the same distance. What historically can happen, okay, with a lot of players is they play the fade with a more open face, so they're actually playing a greater spin loft. Right. And so you start to actually increase the loft, or the way that you play it, okay, is not quite create the same dynamic loft, the same impact factors, but it is possible to play the same distance, of course it is.
I think maybe one of the reasons why I instinctively feel like just trying to think about why I gave that answer would be I always like to play with the wind, to be honest. I don't really ever like to go against it, and that's probably what gives me that feeling of when I hold it off, it doesn't go quite the distance.
Yeah.
Because I'm always going into the wind.
So
not,
that means
not
so
really
your fade
with it.
shots mean something different, and again this is what we mean. We all see a shot different, and we play a shot for a different reason. So I've just interpreted, let's play flat out, let's see if we can get the fade the same distance. I'm challenging him, I'm very challenging, so we've got to continue to stress Alex's system, okay? But because he's a good player, can play all the shots very comfortably, so we've got to challenge him, and we've also got to challenge his thinking and how he conceptualises this. So by challenge, this is a big challenge because sometimes the wind is going to be left to right, and so riding up in the wind. How comfortable do you feel shaping it? And if you want to neutralise that draw sometimes, hold it off a little bit. Yeah. Do you have to go flat out for the hold off to neutralise it, or can you release it with the fade?
Question on the wind thing. You know what you guys were saying earlier, where when you were throwing the ball to each other.
Yeah.
Do you feel that with the wind that you're kind of, I guess, one with the wind blowing into
Definitely,
the
yeah. Like I was talking about, you're trying to create as much data as you can. And that means reading the green prior to hitting the pot, and it means seeing the shot prior to hitting the shot. Like the elements as well, trying to factor that into your decision making of what line you're going to hit the putt on, or what flight you want to hit, or the kind of angle where you're going to aim at. So there's so many different variables. You can't just say it's black and white.
So what's this? Flat out with a bit of cut.
Well, yeah,
See
I'm
if you get
trying.
the fade one night.
Yeah, that's.
It's a little fade.
It's 2 yard fade. Isn't it?
Yeah.
What number do you reckon before it comes up?
So your answer is.
Your answer is, Alex, you were wrong. Marcus, you were right.
So your answer is a resounding yes. You can play. You can cut the ball, and but this is. Do you know what? Tonight, that's a learning. Experience.
That's a learning 2 yard curve.
Rally as well because this is actually this uphill range as well. Which is slightly exception.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was a beautiful ball flight. Absolutely perfect.
Although Alex's biggest takeaway will be that throw to the flag.
Yeah.
All day long question.
What do you feel to get a tiger stinger? It's not a tiger stinger, it's an Amstel stinger. We're not trying to emulate anybody else, but look, we do use imagery, of course, but if you wanted to hit that low stinger, what you
You'll
so
see
you might need to come around, you might better come around this side and then see what Alex would do.
Well, funny enough, it's a little bit like I can't, for this shot, thank you, I can't really elaborate in great depth as to what I actually do. I just do it. It's a little bit like if I was going to throw a ball to Marcus there, he'd catch it, he'd throw it back. If I walked 10 yards beyond, yeah, probably, he would do the same. And then you ask, well, how did you do that? I don't know, really, I just did it. So there's an element of part of my game where I do try and like be really instinctive, because I can just do it. Sometimes, I mean, I know like, basic fundamentals of why I do it, but in terms of really giving you a direct answer, I don't know. And I think that's the best form of answer, because if you look at the likes of, we talked about this the other day, didn't we, Marcus, when you were in the open zone with Dustin Johnson and
Name drop.
yeah, well, with all of them really, with name drop. And his coach asked him, what does he do for a fade? And the answer was, I just fade it. So that's, I'm not saying I'm Dustin Johnson at all, but I'm just saying that I resonate with certain things. And the stinger would be one of them actually, 'cause it's not a shot.
So you can't verbally explain what you're doing to hit that stinger, but yeah, just do it.
It's the
You-
Nike,
Yeah, the Nike slogan,
yeah,
it's quite famous.
So look at that body position there. That is a very different finish from when he said he was going to hit a high ball flight.
Now, what's interesting there, and this is one good thing this is used for. So, as you hit down more, so you'll, on that.
I think he was outside the box.
Right.
Oh yeah, it was the
Didn't really pick it up.
shame, because that was a ball.
Just hit another one. Let's get some numbers on there.
Just hitting another because the GC didn't read that one. Look at that finish. It's the same as the last one and very different from the high ball flight.
Yeah, like, first one was bad, but it's still the same-ish.
What are we expecting to see in numbers wise there?
So, what we've seen is a 2.4 degree club path to the right and a 6.6 degree spin axis tilt to the left. So essentially, as you hit down, that's throwing the path to the right, shifting your path to the right, and that's tilting the spin axis to the left and playing the draw. So that's why when you see Tiger play that stinger, and like Alex played there, they're opening up the body. They're opening up, so as you move the ball back, and as you're hitting more down, you're shifting your path out to the right. If you're not careful, so Alex isn't playing, he's not finishing over here, he's finishing, and it's basically managing, or delivering, managing's not the right word, it's delivering that face to minimise, because otherwise you're going to get pull draws and they're going to be low flighted, but that's not happening because Alex knows how to play it. But what he could also do, and this is why you saw Tiger on the TV and it looks like he's aiming 45 degrees left with a 2-iron like this, and he hits down, and that ball looks like it shoots at 45 degrees right, okay? But it's not, it's the TV camera angle, but essentially Tiger is aiming a long way left, because what he's doing, he's offsetting that angle of attack with his swing direction. If he's aimed straight and hit down, and with a face that's squaring up for impact into the direction he wants to hit it, he's going to hit big, low, smothered pulls, but he doesn't do that. He opens up to shift his swing direction left, so now he can hit down as much as he wants. So the more you hit down, the more you open up, the more you minimise that draw. We know when Alex goes full out, he sees the draw shape, so we've got to be mindful of the fact that when he does want to hit down at those shots, he can manage that. He can play those fades, he can play those draws, and essentially he's just attuning himself to his release pattern. But the shot is extremely different. I mean, we've gone flat out 190 high lunge. That was a massive carry by that's a 215 carry. So is it a stinger 215 with a same foot?
I'll just say yeah, but he changed it to 4 hours. I paid it for a second before I come clean.
So then with the
But it's still a massive carry wheel, that, to be fair, with a stinger.
no fade stinger then, would he close himself off?
No, he's going to go more. It's going to go more.
Wow.
essentially. But he can look, he can shift his face, he can move. Look, the thing is, there's more components to this than just moving around. Okay, the system's so adaptable and variable that he can start to use his hands, use his body in a different way. You'll notice the form of movement he takes starts to really shift dramatically depending on the shot. I mean, that's an extreme shot. So you're going to see. It's like the old Patrick Reed when he's trying to fade it and he's like doing the old Arnold Palmer because he normally plays a draw. Bubba Watson, these guys, they're used to playing a certain shape and they're having to go to a different shape. And when it's extreme, like they're playing around a tree, they do not want that face closing down and they're normally releasing it. And so you're going to see things like that.
They don't want to go back either.
No, because
famous Sergio around the tree after he's hit it and then walked after it.
Yeah.
It's like,
That
that's
one that Tiger did.
They are-
He did that.
Seb's done it in the past.
And they're not doing this, they are staying, because they know as soon as they start to tilt and get any release, any rotation from the arm, it's a killer because they're hitting down, they're trying to hit a stinger. So they've got to be moving, they're getting very much more torso moving forward.
I mean, that could be an element of how I would practice as well. If I'm playing a certain course where there might be predominantly more danger on the left-hand side, in my session the night before, if I come to the range, like here for example, I'll be trying to put myself in that position and just work on my face awareness through the shot, just to always make sure that I'm fading away from the danger. That's what I'm tapping into, and you'll see it at the Open. They will change equipment, they'll change the way that they're practicing, often lower bumping runs, all that sort of stuff. When they get into America, it's totally opposite. So they're adapting to the environment, which is it's so key and overlooked. It's not just a set of regimented blueprints that you've got to adhere to constantly in order to get better. You don't evolve that way at all. And if you think you do, well, unfortunately, you need to have a few.
It plateaus. Your performance plateaus.
Yeah.
That's the thing, and that's sometimes your handicap plateaus because you took your skill level to a certain place where you can't adapt. You've adapted to the environment, the course you play. But then, when you go play anywhere else, how often can people play really well at the home course and then they can't go out play elsewhere? Because the game is designed, they design it around their course, and the practice, and they've gone to the coach with a purpose in mind to get better at playing their home course, because the only feedback they're getting is from the home course, and the shots that they're missing are needed on that home course. But then you go to a different course, requires different shots, and the skill set isn't there. So. Or they don't know how to use it. So that's why it's important for Alex, who's playing tournaments week in, week out on different courses. That practice round is so vital. He's got to very quickly find out what that course needs and adapt his game. So his practice isn't really practice. His practice round's fact-finding, collating information, so that when he goes back to that practice ground that night or the next day, he's practicing the shots, he's just getting himself fine-tuned, maybe playing a few holes, a few shots out there that he needs, and he's getting himself ready for the next day. So are you using your practice in a way that is conducive for performance on your course? And then do you know what I'd recommend? I know we've got to get value out of our membership, but I'd recommend going and playing another course every now and again and see how you perform on other courses. And if you found wanting on other courses, maybe that's holding you back on your own course. Maybe that's why your handicap's stagnated. So go on another course, see how you perform. If you struggle, why did you struggle? Use some reflective feedback on it, and then feed it forward into your practice, and then go to your home coach or whoever you go to for lessons and say, look, this is what I've found, what's your ideas on this? Ask them for their ideas and how they can improve and how they can improve your game. And I think that's the way to develop your game, really. So it's a whole different perspective on practice.
This is a great range, by the way.
I think we're going to
Really nice range.
It is awesome, isn't it? So, look, I think we're getting... If there's anything else anyone wants to ask,
There was one.
someone's just said the plane's probably run out of fuel.
Someone asked, is Craig still your best and favourite student?
Yeah. He's the biggest. So yeah, he's the best. He's my favourite. He's the biggest.
What about some obviously short game is the most important thing. It'd be great to know just a 5 minute on what you do for short game on the range.
Yeah, well, short game is, like for example, if you look out 5 yards in front of us where we've got the grass, it's always difficult for me to practice my short game unless I'm talking about like heights and flights, whereas on the course, it's alright saying I've been chipping really well when you're putting yourself in a perfect lie every single time. Not so much on the mat, obviously you do that anywhere on the mat, but when you go and practice, it's very, very rare that you'll see the ball and then find the ball in the hole and then not move it so you can hit your practice shot. Unfortunately, that's not real. So to try and practice as a, in like real time really. So I want to be practicing poor lies, good lies, balls that sat slightly up, balls that sat slightly down, and that's how I tune myself. And also, it's alright talking about the greens as well, like the turf, but it might be clay, it might be sand-based. You've got to adapt to that as well. So that's that can cause a lot of chaos sometimes if you aren't careful. So in terms of like being in this scenario, I would be just seeing different heights, different flights, trying to feel the face through the shot. And if I wanted a low one, hit it out of turf if I have to. If I wanted to try and just roll out, so even the sound is different. Oh, you hear the sound, that's me turning it over, so that's me predicting that when it lands on the green, it's actually going to roll out. Or if I want the opposite to that, where I want it to land, even if I want to try and get it to bounce to the right, I'm thinking about that as well. So one reason why you would potentially use that is if I don't know, let's picture this green in front of us, which it is actually. If the flag was a bit further back, I would be able to hit to the right hand side and it would fall in to the left because of the nature of gravity. So if I wanted to reduce that amount of bounce, I would try and cut a shot into that so it lands softer into the side of that mound, as opposed to like reeling it off it so it just bounces sideways. So that's just another way that I perceive it. So all these little details have got to be factored in, and in all honesty, when it comes to the driving range, short game, it's questionable. Not for me, not for everyone, but I'm more on to be tuned with the grass outside than that environment, because a lot of people can hit perfect shots in here, and then you get onto there and you fat it, so it's like it's a little bit different. Obviously, that's my take on it as a player anyway. Maybe not, or maybe say that as a coach, but I'd say
that's fair comment. And I think if you wanted to just develop some basic short game skills, because Alex here, the way that he's interacting with the map, okay, he knows how this would perform on certain lies on a golf course. So if the lie was tight, he knows the sound of the interaction with the ground, the sound of the strike, the feel of the bounce on the floor, the angle of attack. He knows all this, so he can utilise this map in any way he needs to simulate a lie, apart from obviously thick rock and something like that. But you can nip it, you can shallow it out.
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah,
I think so.
It's
You
like
can actually learn. You can actually experiment with different flights.
Great observation. Yeah,
I'd say probably, and then so you can actually use this environment in a different way. Same shot, but different flights.
Yeah,
so you can play
sure.
high, low, high, medium, low.
And I think you'll be able to pick up on the sound as well. So this one I'm going to look at a touch heavy. And why would you want a touch heavy for me? If I got a bit of mud or something maybe between me and between the ball and the club face, I might purposely just try and dig it out a little bit more, just to make sure it gets there. Especially if I'm going over water or something like that, just to take that out of the equation of not standing in the water. It's not what I want to do. So often the lie dictates the shot. In fact, every time the lie dictates the shot.
And that gets missed a lot as
Yeah.
well. To be honest, the lie, 'cause we look at the shot first, and we don't sometimes pay the lie enough attention, and we go straight to the shot, and then we might not play a good shot on the mat, and we're not particularly happy with ourselves, but we miss some vital information, we miss the line, we miss what that lie is allowing or restricting.
So I'm mimicking that. I'm going to mimic that kind of fat shot. And in the practice week, it's heavy. If you can hear that, hopefully you can. We'll try and just. That's good. Clip. So it's not gone in the water. That one, so it went long, so I'm dry. I'm not in the water. This one, I'll go the opposite. Just, you won't be able to hear that, but I could just match fraction of feel. The leading edge, sole of the club, just brushing very, very lightly. And I know that I need to swing a little bit faster. Yeah, beautiful. So I got ball first then. So there was no thud, then click. It was just click.
Now this level of awareness, obviously you could say Alex is a tour player, he's got that level of awareness, but we can practice this level of awareness, which may help us develop skills like this. So it's the awareness and the creates those feedback loops that allows us to adapt movement and improve our movement. Knowing what is, looking at what the opportunity is, what's the potential here, but also looking at limitations. Alex has looked at limitations as well. We're not just seeing a shot and thinking about the perfect golf shot in one dimension here. We're looking at all of the dimensions. We're looking at the lie. What's this going to sound like? What's it going to feel like? Have I got that in my repertoire? Do I see this golf shot? Do I see these limitations? Am I literally looking at the flag and then could falling short of the flag in the water or in the bunker? Or am I seeing where these areas are to hit into? Because in a 4-day tournament, that one shot costs a tournament. Over 4 days, one shot, missing a green, one slack shot could be the difference between a big paycheck and just a run-of-the-mill average check. So the thing is that this matters. It matters to you as well. It matters to you with your score and your handicap. Sometimes you can be missing out on vital information, and just because you're not used to paying it enough attention.
You just do it without any thought. And you could, a real good test of this is something that you wouldn't particularly want, but it's like, can you purposely thin one?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you fit it? Can you top it?
I'll try and get all this.
I just want to say, guys, the devil, okay, is in the detail. But I don't mean detail as in mechanics and swing technique. I mean detail as in golf shot. Are you looking at? And when we say golf shot, we're classing the environment, the lie, the conditions. Are you aware of that? Are you looking at that?
So I reckon that's gone about 130, maybe 125.
Goes out the zone.
Oh, you are joking.
We believe you.
Well, you got them right every other time. There's no
Yeah.
reason you wouldn't get it right this
We
time.
trust you.
Now it's ready. GC quad ready.
See, that is probably about 155.
Oh.
155.
Ooh.
170.
Misread from the GC there.
Could be a misread. It's not used to thin shots.
Maybe that puts me through. This is actually 61 degrees.
Not when you hit it like that.
See the roll, it's the roll.
Yeah, we're on in
That's
the
160.
Yeah.
That's rolled out.
So, but it's a great way of testing yourself to see how well you
Oh,
can
it's
tune
fine.
yourself.
Oh, you've got to think, because this is uphill. So it's probably, if it was a flat level, it probably would be 185.
Yeah. Anyway, it's besides the point really, it's the fact that we're just trying to do something which is very, very difficult to do on command. Often a lot of people are good at it.
Without, yeah, I'm very good at it without meaning to do it.
And then just go back into normal rhythm. This has been going about 115 flat out with my actual ball. It's probably a bit less. But yeah, as I say, I'm not 100% sure. You pick it up.
Yeah.
Yes, that's 100.
So essentially what this is all about, it's not just thinning the ball, this is controlling low point of the swing, angle of attack. This is being in tune. This is showing a level of awareness that is enabling him to strike the ball consistently every time because he's able to thin it. So can you top it as well?
That's a similar shot, so I say that's about 3. Don't know why I didn't pick that up to one.
So he's going for a top here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh!
That is awesome.
That is a perfectly executed top.
To do that intentionally is brilliant. So that shows you how hard it is to actually top a ball. So when you top a ball unintentionally, it's actually a difficult task, okay, to perform intentionally. But you can use that awareness in a really productive way by then going to a thin, going to the ground, feeling. I mean, you've just been talking here mainly about feel and sound.
Yeah.
I mean, those two are intrinsically linked,
Yeah.
feel and sound. So, and that's giving such important feedback, rich feedback for play. You're finding, you're exploring it, experimenting, and essentially refining it, and then you go to the one out the middle.
Yeah.
And then you go, that's the one out the middle again.
Am I doing what I'm setting out to do? And the majority of these shots are like would be in the category of yeah, I am. So is that a conducive practice session all day long? I'm going to go to the car now thinking, yeah, I executed that quite well, happy days. Start again tomorrow. Other days I might look at it from a different lens, from analysing my swing, checking positions, blah, blah, blah. So different ways to practice, different ways to play, keeping it fresh and keeping it enjoyable really as well. Because like I said before, you get bored. I've gone through all that additional stuff, and you know what, under pressure it doesn't work. And this is a form of pressure to this, because I could quite easily make myself look stupid in front of a lot of people to buy. But thankfully I've got the tools to be able to control like my nervous system to a certain extent, which then is, you know, reflected on tournaments if I'm playing and I'm coming down the stretch and my mind's wondering about how I look or not to choke or mess up, and it's like I revert to these systems of just trying to like keep the system calm. That's a whole different conversation when we start talking about biochemistry and stuff like that. So the stuff that's released, either cortisol, DHA, which is in essence a happy hormone, and how you can produce that through thought and feeling and the way that you breathe, all these external different things, the way that your eyes work, blah blah blah. So that's a slight insight into the detail that we do go into in order to be able to produce this sort of stuff. That's basically it.
I mean, what we're talking about here is variability of practice creating interference that may normally destabilise you, but actually Alex is using this in a way to stabilise. So someone asked earlier about, would you put your feet together for balance? Is that a good drill for balance? The best way to practice something like balance is to create more variability, more noise. It's a good noise because it's allowing you to actually sense what's happening and then start to refine your movement, tune your balance, because to that noise. It's like going on a ship. When you first get on a ship, everything's like this. An hour later, it's all normal. You've normalised it. So the system has adapted, and there's a homeostatic state that's started to emerge. And that essentially is when you're playing golf and you're in the zone. There's that dynamic equilibrium that is just adapting all the time, and it's understanding that noise, playing with that noise, and that's what Alex is doing here. That variability of practice is that turbulence, is that noise, and you need that for stability. So I think that session was awesome, Alex. I think that's given a real insight. So there's a few more questions, but we can look at these another day. And I think there's been so much there that's of real help to everybody. So
good,
Alex,
Probably a lot of dinners going cold right now.
Including mine.
Well, Alex, mate, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It's been awesome.
No,
That's
thank you.
really good to get Alex's time and insight, and I hope you've enjoyed it, guys. Everyone take care. Thanks to Craig, thanks to George, the cameraman.
Spin it round, spin it round.
Say hi, George. Guys, take care of yourselves. See you soon. Thanks for watching.
Cherry Spring.